The battle for AmaZulu throne doesn't seem to be over. While preparations for King Misuzulu's coronation are underway, his brother, Prince Simakade Zulu, will also be performing a traditional ceremony of entering the kraal. This is a week before King Misuzulu does exactly the same ceremony. Now, these ceremonies are important to perform, which are in line with Zulu customs in order for the king to fulfill the necessary rituals in celebration of his installation as king of the AmaZulu nation. I'm joined now by cultural expert, Professor Sihawukele Ngubane, who talks to us from Durban. Prof, good morning to you. And as I was saying in that introduction, twists and turns, and at the center of it all is the throne of the Zulu royal. It's quite a confusing one, Professor, and I'm sorry to be clumsy about it, but let's start here. The Prince Simakade Zulu, that's the one of the brothers to King Misuzulu, Kazwelithini. The understanding is that he is going to be performing the ritual ceremony of Ukungena Esibayeni, entering the kraal, this weekend. The Prime Minister, the traditional Prime Minister of the Zulu nation, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, has said this is an act of foolish provocation by Prince Simakade. What is going on here? Is Prince Simakade supposed to do what he is going to do this weekend?
Thank you very much, Koli, and your viewers. I think you have analyzed it so well that it's a confusion. And the confusion is caused by the disharmony amongst the royal family. And as you rightly put it, is that the quotation from Prince Buthelezi is that it is foolish. It is foolish indeed, because the kraal entering ceremony is sacred, and the kraal is treated as a temple amongst the Zulu people. So when you go there, you have that in mind, because it symbolizes the ancestors and the kings that have lived before. And if Prince Simakade, as the elder son of the late King Zwelithini, is going to perform this ceremony is not going to be successful in such a way that the same people that they will be praying, because Ismail is a temple, is a place of worship where we have ritual worship. So they are going to be praying to the same ancestors. So there will be a clash. And that will also not only confuse us as the people of the Zulu nation, but it confuses the ancestors, the kings that have lived before, because in the history of the Zulu people, there's only one king. There are no two kings. And since in 1900 centuries, the Zulu nation is over 200 years. There's never been a king. There's only one king, and that is King Misuzulu, Kazwelithini.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe I could say as well that it is not like the clans and the tribes where you find that there are 6 Amakos that lead the Ngubane clan or Mkhize clan, depending on the location. But the position of Ingonyama, Isilo, there's only one Ngonyama. Unlike in the Xhosa tradition. Xhosa tradition, we have 5 Amakumkani, but it is their tradition. But amongst the Zulu people and their custom, the king is one. So you can't have 2 parallel ceremonies directed to the single position. There will be only one throne for the Zulu nation. And I think it is further confusing people.
Let's talk about what you said there, Professor, that this is likely to be unsuccessful, this weekend's entering of the sacred kraal by Prince Simakade. What will determine the success or failure of that entering of the sacred kraal? Is it to do with the number of people who are attending, or certain people who ought to attend but will not honor perhaps the invitation for Prince Simakade's entering of the sacred kraal?
Yeah, I think mainly it will be attended by a small faction within the Zulu royal family, because most people are in support of the king, the current king, Misuzulu, and his ceremony is taking place on the 20th of August. So the majority of the Zulu people, including Amabuto, including Amakhosi, they will be attending the next week, the King Misuzulu's function. And also what I was saying earlier when I mentioned being unsuccessful is that when you go to one father, the father has agreed that the heir should sit on the throne. And now when the second heir comes in, now it is likely that they will reject the other king. They are both children of the late King Zwelithini, but the rightful heir depends on who is the mother. And in this case, Prince Simakade's mother is not within Ondlunkulu Bawazu. So by that, it will cause that friction of unacceptance by the ancestors. And the other thing that confirms that is when they did Ihlambo, the cleansing ceremony. Yeah. The cleansing ceremony was successful when King Misuzulu performed his Ihlambo, although there was an Ihlambo ceremony prior to that one. But it means the ancestors accepted Ihlambo ceremony for Misuzulu. If they did not welcome it, anything might have happened when they were going out to hunt the animals. So that's a symbol that he is destined to be the heir and the king of the Zulu nation, and there will be only one king.
Professor Ngubane, the traditional ceremony that's going to take place this weekend, at least on the part of Prince Simakade, that ceremony, it is preceding the one that ought to be conducted by the person that you label as the rightful heir, that's King Misuzulu Zwelithini. The viewers will remember that in March this year, President Ramaphosa officially recognized King Misuzulu in terms of the customary law and the customs of the Zulu monarchy. Now, if something like this is happening at so close a time when the king is supposed to be officially recognized by government this time around, that's got to do with that coronation that's coming up. If all of these issues, Prof, are taking place at such a crucial time, the worry, at least among the Zulu nation, should be that no spilling of blood should happen there. And I'm saying this not because I'm alarmist, but because of what we all observed on national television at the reading of the will.
Yes, I think anything is possible. Things like spilling of blood is inevitable, but in this case,
why do you say that, Professor? I've got to take you up on that. Why do you say that the spilling of blood is inevitable? Because that's something that I suspect even the president would say should be avoided at all costs.
It is inevitable because even performing this ritual, which counteracts the rightful or the legitimate function, is something that no one ever expected that it will happen, because Prince Simakade's team have been to courts and they lost the case, whereas Prince Misuzulu won the case even in Pietermaritzburg as the legitimate heir of the Zulu nation. So one may expect anything to happen, because it shows that there is a very, very serious division and disharmony amongst the royal family.
It's very worrying indeed. All right, Prof. So let's look ahead then to the 20th of August. That will be the Ukungena Esibayeni of King Misuzulu, the person you say is the rightful heir. That ceremony, do you expect it to be well attended and indeed, to use your words, successful?
Yeah. I must say, Koli, this is a historical ceremony, and it is a public ceremony. Everyone is invited to attend, although only the senior members of the royal family will be allowed to get into their temple, because it is their temple. But the rest of the people will be gathered outside and they will be part of the celebration. So I can imagine that Amabucho will be there, Amakosi, and the general public will be there, because that is the official Ukungena Esibayeni ceremony that takes place next week.
All right. That's the professor at the University of Zululand. And Professor Sihawukele Ngubane is not giving me comfort here. He says the spilling of blood is going to be inevitable, and I don't think that sounds good. But I suppose if that is what is going to happen, or that's going to solve the situation, I'm not sure whether we are all accepting of that inevitability, as he puts it.